Welcome back to Joey's Wine Rack. We are live and hopefully you are too. Of course you are. Duh. And we're doing our third in the series and we call it what? What's our series today?
Summer Sipper Series.
Say it like you mean it, Sarah. Sarah says Summer Sipper Series. So far we've done Sicily, we've done Spain, going back to Italy again. This time we're going to have the Fallegro. This one is a 2012. And I can't read that at all upside down.
I can't read it.
Well, my Italian, and because I can read it now, it says Vino Bianco, which means
White wine.
exactly. So we had Vino Verde, which is Spanish for green wine. So we've had green wine, we're having white wine. Of course, we had the Grillo before. So we're back to Italy. I've tasted this one before. I like it a lot. And I decided, when I went in, I decided I wanted to get a few different things. And so kind of deciding we want to try some different things, and I specifically went in with the idea, I didn't want any Chardonnay at all, and didn't get any. I did actually get a couple other things that people might be at least familiar with. The grape itself, not necessarily the wines. But I wanted to do something that not everybody's had, and that's kind of my thing. I like to turn people on to new stuff, whether it's music or food or wine or whatever. Like, hey, check this out. Hey, let's go to a blues show. These are people you've never heard of before. Let's go to a rock show. I know the band.
And what might they be called?
Something about a smile.
See them. They'll be near you sometime. Tomorrow, if you remember. Kind of price point. Let's talk price point for a while. We've been kind of talking off camera a little bit and sometimes on camera. Yeah, you can spend a lot of money on a bottle of wine. That's great. But if it's everyday drinking, or not everyday drinking, but normal drinking, and it's not really a special occasion, I drink wine by myself. Does it make me sound sad? I don't care. And I'm worth it, but I'm not going to spend $25, $50 on a bottle of white to hang out by myself. Sorry. This one and the other ones we tasted, definitely below the $15 mark. Somewhere, I think, there's one of them, and I don't recall which one, I'm sorry, was like $9.50, and I think this one, if I remember, is about $12.50. So it's kind of easy on the budget.
Yeah.
Typically, and everything we've been tasting today is out of a 750. If you ever hear somebody just say, oh yeah, it's a 750, 750 milliliters. For whatever reason, it's one of the few things, now of course this is Italian, one of the few things that Americans actually go along with as far as the metric system. Because it's not like, well, it's a pint and whatever. That's way too confusing. So 750 milliliters, size here. There is one that we're going to taste later on that is a liter. So typically, if you know, everything is pretty much the same, the standard bottle size. When you're having dinner or you're having a party or whatever, generally speaking, and we're doing a much smaller fills right now. Generally speaking, you're going to have a bigger fill, and you can get somewhere between 6 and 8 glasses of wine out of a bottle of 750. Of course, it depends on who's pouring. You know.
Having the glasses.
But so 6 to 8 is going to be about there. So you're having a party, and there's going to be 16 people. You need
2 bottles or 3.
There's the teacher.
You're a teacher.
I am.
right on. All right, so a little different this time around. Hold this off. Not so hard for the left hand. But that's plastic. We call it, even though it's plastic, we still call it a foil because that's what it's always been in the past. So Europe, or Europe. We got the 2012 Fallegro. Like what you're looking at.
Yes.
Vino Bianco, white wine. My double pull corkscrew. I didn't have to use a knife. And again, typically we want, for presentation purposes, you ordered it, so I want to do like this so you can at least see it while I'm, I started to say while I'm screwing it, while I'm putting the corkscrew in. That's just weird. And there's one pull, and there's a second. That's why we use a double pull. Because one pull works okay, but
I usually have issues.
and a little pop is okay. And we have, tell us what you think about the cork.
It is a foam. Is it foamy?
It's another synth cork. It's just slightly
Yeah.
different than the other, but it's not a real cork.
Yeah.
And more often than not, you'll find synth type corks in white wine versus red wine. And excuse me for 1 second. Can you get me one of those drop stops over there? I left both of it in a second. Please. Oh, so not prepared. Thank you to my lovely assistant. And remember, these are super heavy and super thick. And like so. And really, it does, since it's a circle, it's kind of a little tip on it, so however you want to put it, it doesn't really matter. This is mine, just out here. And we're going to do this at the moment. Yeah, unless John's wearing lipstick.
Not today.
You're in the band, so you know, makeup, hair.
It's early.
And so, what do we
It's
notice?
almost florally.
Hmm? Florally.
I don't know if that's a word.
Floral-like. What do we notice when I poured? Was it the effervescence or the bubbles like the other one?
No.
But maybe a little bit more than the first one.
Yeah. A little bit.
Taste it, please. Everybody watching.
Don't.
Everybody out there is watching.
It's a little bubbly. I like it. The taste lingers a little bit longer than the first one, but maybe longer than the second one. I don't know.
So when you start tasting a lot after a while, you're like,
Mhm.
I don't remember.
It's
Good
good
to
though.
have your
It's not real
stopwatch
sweet.
out. Okay, that's good.
And also when I was on the air doing this on radio, I used to not say anything when I was doing that. He was like, I love that sound. So that one seemed
That
more.
one seemed a lot more bubbly, yeah.
What's with your glass? It's done that a few times when other people's
It's funny,
didn't. Mine's
yeah.
like,
Because I really noticed it on that
Yeah. So again, this is a 2012 Fallegro from Italy. It's a Vino Bianco, which simply means white wine, but there's no specific grape in it, so it's some sort of a blend. See if we can tell what sort of a blend it was. No, not at all. Because I failed and didn't do my homework.
Seems pretty dry.
one.
A little more bitter.
Definitely not effervescence.
Mm-hmm.
Back of the tongue.
Yeah,
Actually almost
it's tingling.
down a little bit.
Stays
So-
a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. It's definitely not as sweet. It's a little bit more sharp
Mhm.
almost.
Mm-hmm.
Little drier.
And this side of the room, what do we think?
Mm.
I agree with all of that.
Yes. The
It
answer is
doesn't have
yes.
as strong a smell either.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right.
Yeah, you
It's
don't
very
smell
light.
the
You
fruity.
don't- you really don't smell a lot with
Mhm.
it.
Sorry. Not my girls.
Yeah, do you smell much of it? Not too much.
Well, not to say it's wrong, but I'm not smelling the flowers.
Mm.
it has a different taste, but
Yeah.
it can't
There's like that
Point.
end, like lingering,
Yeah,
almost like
that's what I said,
sharpness
this
to
one-
it, but I can't pin it down to what exactly it is.
And one thing that you'll notice that you're not tasting, if you've ever tasted we'll pick out Chardonnay again, a Chardonnay that tastes almost woody or big and
Yeah.
fat and buttery,
Mm-hmm.
it's because those stay in oak barrels typically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I didn't do my homework, I would almost bet that every one of these is aged in stainless steel. So you don't get that wood taste to it. I like my white wines that way, without wood. Anyway, I like this one. I gotta say, on the joy scale, what do you think about that?
It's hard to.
I think I like this one a little bit better. I'm gonna give this one an 8. Still nothing wowing my socks off. Yes, I'm wearing pants. Again, for $12.50 or so, it's not anything that we've tried so far, at least in my mind, is not something I'd be embarrassed to take to a party or to dinner or somebody's house or something like that, even give it as a gift. But it's not something that like, oh yeah, I dig this, this is amazing. I've got a few wines like that and they're typically red. But it's not really like, oh, when I do things and have services rendered to okay, when I get my hair cut and stuff like that, I tip with wine. Because, well, not that I'm special. Well, we're special. Anybody can tip a few bucks, but it's like, oh. And people who take care of that stuff for me, they're like, oh. They're the people that work around them, they're like, oh, what'd you get? And try to mix it up. I don't give them the same stuff all the time. And depending on how much I'm paying for the service, depends on how much I'm paying for the wine. Now, I don't do that for, getting my oil changed and stuff like that. But I've actually tipped almost a case of wine for my tattoo artist. So he's like, really? I'm gonna tell you. Yeah. So is he. So. I need more ink. So what do you think on the Rochelle scale?
I personally, I think I like it a little less than the others for my taste.
Okay.
So 7.
So when we're drinking this, I get this, and you can have
That's right.
whatever. Sarah?
I agree with that. I don't like them as quite as dry. I like having those other ones that have a little bit of fruity flavor to them. I kind of like that one a little more.
What do you think?
I liked it. I liked that it wasn't as bubbly as the last one. But I liked the first one, actually, was my favorite. But I gave this a 7 or 8.
I gave this one a 6 because, like Sarah, I'm not as big on the drier wines, but I did like the amount of fizz that it had.
Yeah, see, I tend to like drier myself, so, and it
That's
shows.
why I liked it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with my mom. I like the drier too.
You heard that here. She's agreeing with her mom.
One time. You'll never hear it again.
Actually, this one was my favorite so far. It just kind of, it wasn't real fruity, which I don't really like the fruity. It just kind of had like an elegant kind of taste and flavor to it. And so it's elegant, yes. Big words.
Big words matter. But actually, you bring up an excellent point. So you notice that the guys like this one the best so far of the 3. The girls like the other stuff. It doesn't mean it's wrong, probably. But, very, very different. And it really goes to that point that everybody tastes things different.